Hello and welcome to Gatecrashers. Today we are exploring Gate 12. Gate 12 is the gate of caution and standstill. It's knowing the right moment to speak, the right moment to stay quiet. In this Gatecrashers episode, we explore this energy through the character of Stuart, who is a pilot on the plane that's going over right now. This series brings the human design gates to life through lived experience, through story. One moment, caller. Enjoy the view while this plane goes over. Um, I'm in Vienna and I'm not far from the airport, so this happens fairly regularly. Yes, so Gate 12 and my Gatecrashers series. Yeah. So we're going to be exploring the gift of knowing when to speak, when to be still, and the nature of Gate 12 being acoustic and romantic and a little on the melancholic side, as individual expression tends to be. It's a shadow that can calcify into permanent silence. If you're studying human design or just exploring your own chart, maybe this story will help you recognize the energy in real life. It started at school. They called him Stuttering Stew. Not cruelly, exactly, or at least not with an awareness of cruelty, which is its own particular kind of cruelty. It was just a matter-of-fact thing, the way children brutally name things. He stuttered. He was Stew. Therefore, he was Stuttering Stew. Simple, sticky, the kind of name that follows a person down the corridors of their life. What they didn't know, what Stuart himself didn't know for a long time, was that the stutter was not the problem. The stutter was the symptom. The actual thing, the thing underneath, was that Stuart had a profound and entirely accurate sense of when his speech was ready and when it wasn't, when his words were right and when they weren't, when the moment was open and when it was closed. And when the moment was closed, his words caught, they snagged, they refused. And his body knew before his mind did. Gate 12 sits in the throat center, part of the channel of openness, the 1222, connecting the throat to the solar plexus. And this is individual circuitry, which means it is not here to guide the tribe or serve the collective. It's here to mutate, to introduce something new into the human story, something that may not be understood immediately, that may land strangely, that may need time before its value becomes visible. Individual circuitry works in its own timing, in its own acoustic, and it cannot be hurried. It is also the 1222, another plane. It is only the only social channel in individual circuitry, which is its own beautiful paradox. This most private, most interior, most mood dependent of energies can only express itself outward. It needs the social encounter. It needs the room, the moment, the other person. Music requires an audience. Even if the musician chose every single note alone in his room. This is a manifestor channel, which means that Stuart, when he does speak, when the moment is genuinely right, he doesn't have to ask for permission. He doesn't have to test the water, wait for someone to ask him something. He simply opens his mouth, a fly comes in, and what comes out initiates something, changes the temperature of the room, moves something that was stuck. The voice of Gate 12 is very specific. I know I can try or not. And this is not timidity, it's not avoidance dressed up as discernment. It's genuine, it's accurate, it's a bodily knowledge of readiness. When the mood is there, the channel opens. When it isn't, it doesn't. And no amount of social pressure and no number of, oh, come on, Stu, say something, or funny looks across the dinner table or, nudges from your partner, nothing's going to change that. Stuart is acoustic. He hears things. He feels the quality of a room the way a musician feels the acoustics of a hall before a performance. The live spaces, the dead spaces, the places where sound will carry, and the places where it will fall flat. He knows walking into a gathering whether this is the place his particular frequency will land. And often, not always, but often, he walks to the edge, finds a wall to lean on, and he watches. He's also unexpectedly quite romantic. He can be quite passionate even, prone to a quality of feeling that other people sometimes have called melodrama, but which is, for Stuart, simply the accurate register of his interior life. He feels things at a pitch that most people don't. The melancholy especially, not depression, but a particular bittersweet quality and awareness of transience, perhaps. The transience of the beauty of things that don't last. He could write poetry. Some evenings, sitting alone, he does. Approximately 95,000 years ago, give or take, something happened in the human body that changed everything. Our larynx dropped. In the scheme of things, it's a small anatomical shift, a repositioning of a structure in the throat. But the consequences have been enormous. A new range of sounds became possible. A new complexity of articulation. A new capacity for the kind of nuanced, layered, meaning-rich communication that would eventually become our language. And the Ministry of Funny Voices, for some reason. Before this mutation, our human vocal range was very limited. We were in the grunting phase. After it, everything opened up. This mutation, this specific world-altering gift to the human story, is carried in gate 12. The gate of caution. The gate that knows when to speak and when not to. The gate through which humanity first found its voice. And which has been asking ever since whether this is the right moment to use it. Stuart, who spent his childhood being mocked for the way words caught in his throat, is the keeper of the gate through which language entered the world. Isn't that beautiful? The shadow of gate 12 is the caution that goes too far, the mood that never quite arrives, the waiting that becomes permanent, the silence that calcifies from wisdom into hiding. Stuart knows this territory. There have been years, stretches of years, when the right moment never seemed to come, when he talked himself out of speaking before he'd even started, before the stutter had had a chance to catch or not catch, before the room had been given a chance to go still. He has things he has never said. Not secrets, exactly, more like music he has composed in his head and never performed. He has watched other people say approximate versions of those things, clumsier, less precise, less true, perhaps. And he has felt the particular frustration of the person who has the words first and kept them too long. There's another kind of energy that we could meet here, and it looks from the outside to be the opposite of our Stuart. Someone with an undefined throat, a centre that is open and receptive and taking in all the energy of the world around and amplifying it without a consistent anchor. In the not self, this person talks. They talk to be noticed. They talk to feel like they matter, like they're someone who initiates and just wants to have a voice who counts. They talk too loudly sometimes. They interrupt you fairly often. They fill silences that they weren't asked to fill. Because the undefined even throat, the undefined throat is trying from a place that was never designed to do this reliably and consistently, to be the one who speaks first and to have the impact. The irony is not lost. The person who cannot stop talking, the person who cannot start, both of them in their different ways in a complicated relationship with the same gift. That gift that arrived in the human story 95,000 years ago, changing everything. Stuart was at a leaving party. Someone he'd worked with for years, someone he respects, someone who's going on to something better and truly deserves it. And they are standing across the crowded room and people are making speeches and, the usual warm, slightly generic speeches. And Stuart began to feel something in himself, a readiness, something getting ready to move. And he has not planned this. He hasn't rehearsed anything. This is not a prepared remark. There's only the sense, which is unmistakable to him by now, after all these years, that the moment is open. He crosses the room. He touches the person on the arm. The small group around them turns, and Stuart speaks. And he doesn't stutter. He doesn't always, it was never about the stutter. It was always about the moment, and the moment is right. What he says is not long, it's not a speech, maybe 3 sentences or 4, but they land with a precision and a warmth that silence the small group entirely and cause the person leaving to put a hand over their mouth and tears coming to their eyes. Afterwards, someone said to Stuart, "I didn't know you could do that." And Stuart smiles. He knew he could have an impact. He was just waiting. Gate 12 is the gate of caution. Its gift is not silence. Silence is only the gift when it's protecting something real. Its gift is the word that arrives at exactly the right moment, that carries exactly the right weight, that opens something in the room that nothing else could have opened. Humanity dropped its larynx and learned to speak, and Gate 12, cautious, acoustic, romantic, particular, has been deciding ever since whether this is the right moment. Stuart thinks it might be. Thank you for joining me on this Gate 12 exploration, this Gatecrashers series, for enjoying this wonderful view with me, this lake where I am lucky enough to go swimming most days. I'll be back with another Gatecrashers when the transit changes. Until then, please drop me a comment or share your own experience of Gate 12. I know at least one of you out there who watches has got Gate 12. Has the whole channel, actually. And you know who you are. And I'm loving doing this series. I'm loving that there are people in my life who are saying, "Oh, I've got Gate, would you use me? Use my name. I want to be Gate 12. I want to be da-da-da." If that's you, drop me a line. Let me know. What gate do you most resonate to? And until I meet you again, oh, as always, you've just got to love yourself wildly and go gently.